Hey man, I know. Two Division One teams, same year. Who does? All right, look, I got to do the show. I'll talk to you later. Hey, America, prepare yourself as we have a little story to tell you about the thoroughbreds of Kentucky State University. Man, that horse, giddy up, it can race. And their fans probably sipping a little tea right now. Pinkies up. We've got homecoming on deck, football today on Aspire. So let's start the show.
We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end. We saw the champions, we saw the bands, we saw the cheerleaders, we saw the fans. They say on any given Saturday it's possible to win. So let's talk about the season from the start to the end.
Well. Kentucky State isn't playing any games out here. Man, does coaching matter? Charlie Jackson came over from the Atlanta Falcons staff, and 3 games in, they might miss him. But he's at Kentucky State now. This U.S. Air Force veteran has KSU flying high. The Thoroughbreds already have 2 FCS wins, including last weekend's victory over Jackson State in the Circle City Classic.
A great college football game. Absolutely thrilled to come out with the win. Kentucky State has not beaten a Division I opponent. Multiple Division I opponents in school history. And we're blessed to have done that by the end of September. We had a lot of plays there and a lot of points that we felt we left on the field against Tuskegee. And rather than just talk about what could have, should have happened, let's go out and let's dominate our individual responsibilities. So I think we did a better job today.
Well, we've all become accustomed to the idea that Savannah State is now back in the SIAC, but we all needed that moment to make it official. Now, with the Tigers returning to Atlanta last weekend to take on Morehouse, that kind of felt like that thing. Savannah State at Morehouse, pick it up with the Maroon Tigers leading 7-zip and the mascots battling against the cheerleaders, but when she hit that black flip on them, things looking nice for Morehouse early on. This field goal makes it 10-zip, but there were 2 Tigers on the field. Quintavious Wilson might have been the fastest of them all. A 55-yard touchdown run here, and that is textbook breakaway speed. First play of the second quarter, Jalen Brown throwing a pick 6 to Adorian Beach, and that's life on the beach. A 14-10 ball game in favor of Savannah State. From that point on, it was defense. This play here, Santo Dunn literally running from the whole team. All those blue and white jerseys, man, Barry Sanders would have struggled on that run. Well, maybe not Barry. Dunn with 49 yards on 13 carries. Just watch the penetration from the Savannah State defensive line. This is just textbook stuff here, folks. Michael Sims lost his starting quarterback job to Brown, but he's getting warmed up. He would come in the second half. Sims was 12 of 20 for 98 yards. No touchdowns, but no picks either. But Savannah State just made all of the tackles when they needed them. But despite all of that, Morehouse, one final shot for a tie, maybe a win. 8 seconds remaining. Everyone expecting the Hail Mary. Instead, we get a dink. Savannah State got the dunk. 17-10 winners in Atlanta on their welcome back to the SIAC Tour. More on Savannah State later in the No Huddle. That was a look at the game last weekend. BJ Jones joining us now in the studio. He's our SWAC insider, but I'll let you in on a little secret. He's the only person on the HBCU game day staff that's ever played any meaningful football outside of Nerf. I got cut after Nerf. So he's also our football expert. BJ, I had a chance to show you the tape. Savannah State really took advantage up front with the aggressiveness of their defensive line against the Morehouse offensive line. What type of havoc does that play on a team when you get that much penetration?
The game of football, I know it's evolved over the years. We're talking about spread. Everybody likes the skill position players, but games are won at the line of scrimmage. And if you look at the tape, Savannah State dominated the line of scrimmage. Simply, that's what they did. They were able to do it in the pass game, collapsing the pocket on the quarterback, also on the running back, keeping a running back like Santo Dunn in check.
I mean, Santo Dunn ran a lot of yards side to side, but getting forward was a different story. Everywhere he turned, especially early in the first half, it was blue and orange.
Yeah, I mean, Savannah State, they did their job. The two defensive ends make sure they kept outside containment. Basically what that means, never allowed Santo Dunn to get outside. When he stops to cut, he'll use his athleticism. When he cuts back, the defensive tackle, everyone's pursuing. So they were right there. So won a lot of yards, a great day for Santo Dunn, that Morehouse offense.
They were so aggressive up front. Not only did it disturb Morehouse in the run game and the pass game, but also the kicking game. They rushed a punt and blocked another. I mean, that can just affect your entire offense across the board.
Yes, I mean, when you have a defensive line that's playing like that, it impacts everything that you do offensively, especially when they're having their way with your offensive line. It limits so much what you can do. Like I said, we oftentimes fall in love with the skill position players, the receivers. None of that means anything if you can't control the front.
I mean, yeah, BJ, Savannah State coming down to Division II from Division I. We've seen this before with those guys back there. Winston-Salem State, they had a nice run in Division II after coming down from their foray into the MEAC. Still a lot of Division I talent there, though, and especially up front. So this is something we might see in the SIAC for a couple of years.
And I agree. I think with the talent that they have up front, I think that defensive line is going to keep them competitive in every game that they play in the SIAC this year.
All right, he is our SWAC insider, and he's going to stick around because coming up next, guess what we're talking about? The SWAC. Yeah, go figure. The State Fair Classic. Grambling needed a win. Prairie View needed a win. So that means a whole lot. And he's going to talk about the aftermath plus the weekend that we have in front of us right now when we come back on the No Huddle right here on Aspire TV.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the No Huddle, everyone. I'm Tolly Carr here on Aspire TV. The HBCU Tailgate Tour was on the move, and our Stephen J. Gaither was in Big D over the last weekend. Prairie View versus Graham Fam in Dallas. And keep it at 100. Both teams really needed a win, which means someone would leave the Cotton Bowl a little salty.
What's up, everybody? SJG, HBCU Game Day, and this is stop 2 of the HBCU Tailgate Tour powered by Nissan. And man, did we have a ball here in Dallas. We were under the concourse, keeping everybody cool. Rock T was out there taking selfies, dancing, doing everything that he does that makes him the guy that you love on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. We had our favorite Olympian, Kelly Wells Brinkley, Hampton University alumna, and then we just had a load of Prairie View and Grambling fans out here taking selfies with the jerseys, with the band. It was a great time. So look, when we come to your city, and next up is Howard University, October 12th, Howard Homecoming. My first HU homecoming, I couldn't be any more excited, and to be on this HBCU Tailgate Tour, man, it is such a blessing. After that, we got Aggie Eagle, and then stop number 5 is so good, man. I can't even tell you what it's going to be right now. You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to guess. You're not going to catch me slipping. This is a yearly classic between Grambling and Prairie View A&M that goes back a long time. Now, a lot of the times, Grambling has dominated this matchup, and early on, it looked like it might be going back to old times. Grambling jumped out to a 17-7 lead in the first quarter, but after that, Prairie View was able to rely on their playmakers. Dwayna Tucker, man, he's a little guy, kind of like me. He might be even a little shorter than me, but this kid is a true athlete. He is a winner, and every time he touches the ball, he's a threat to get right here in the end zone. So he was able to do his thing. Jalen Morton threw a couple touchdown passes, and Grambling was able to try to keep up for a while, but in that fourth quarter, Prairie View A&M was really able to take control for a while. They were up 42-24 at one point, and then things kind of got a little crazy at the end, and they were able to steady themselves and come out and take the knees and get the 42-36 victory to move past Grambling for the second year in a row. Now, after the game, all of the guys, to a man, they were happy, they were celebrating, but they remembered last year, and they remembered that feeling of the ball dropping. I heard Coach Eric Dooley after the win say, hey, you know what, this is a great win, but we don't want to happen what happened last year. Coaches will tell you all the time that they don't remember that stuff, but obviously the team remembers, and he wants him to remember that feeling as they go through and try to beat Southern and try to go to 2-1 in the SWAC. As for Grambling, they are now 0-2 in the SWAC. That's something that hasn't happened in a long time. Since they've been under Coach Broderick Fobbs, they have consistently been a contender. They got a lot of work that they're going to do now, and they're going to need some help. But it's a long season. We haven't even gotten to October yet. Well, by the time you guys see this on the No Huddle, we will be in October. But a long way to go before the SWAC championship game, wherever that may be. And either of these two teams could still be in it. But right now, Prairie View is feeling pretty good about themselves as they improve to 1-1 in the SWAC. And Southern, look, I'm not making this up. They said they're coming for you. Hey, that's all I got. So from the Cotton Bowl, SJG, we had a great time here with the HBCU Tailgate Tour. We're going to have a week off of that, and then we're going to pick it back up for HU Homecoming. That's Howard University Homecoming. Don't hit me. Hampton, look, I love you guys. That's just what they call it.
All right, thanks a lot. That was Stephen J. Gaither in Dallas, Texas for the Cotton Bowl. And, man, you got to talk to America, especially the Graham fam section of America. Whew, they've got to be on edge right now. 2 straight losses in the SWAC, BJ.
Oh, man, this is so uncharacteristic of a Grambling. We're talking about Grambling at 0-4. Hey, G-men, G-women, people of Tiger Nation, it's not over, all right? It's not over. I know it looks bleak, but the season restarts against Jackson State, all right? You guys still have an opportunity. You're not out of it yet. Remember, Grambling dropped down, lost 2 in the conference last year and still was a game away. It's not over with. It's a long ride. Don't give up on the Tigers just yet.
All right, it is homecoming weekend for some schools. We'll take a look at the SWAC schedule for today. Alabama A&M in the Rocket City. They're taking on Texas Southern. UAPB going out of conference for homecoming. They're taking on Lane, and Valley is hosting that team from Virginia, UVL, Virginia Lynchburg, which they play people tight. They've surprised some people in the past. Out of the teams with a homecoming game today in the SWAC, which fan base would be the most anxious that they might not win today?
The most anxious might be Alabama A&M. And I know Texas Southern is 0-4, but Texas Southern they do a lot of things offensively that could cause problems for Alabama A&M. If you look at Alabama A&M, they did get the win against Central State, but that defense has been shaky all year. Texas Southern could put up a lot of points and a lot of yards. That game could get interesting in the Rocket City.
All right, we're not doing homecoming today because BJ and I are hanging out at Alabama State this afternoon as they host Alcorn. A little bit of revenge. We should have a pretty good game because Alabama State went down there, I think, for a homecoming. And, man, a lot of missed field goals. So Alcorn looking for a little payback today.
Man, look, this is for first place in the Eastern Division. A team that beat Alcorn State, no one saw that coming last year. Now Alabama State have the Braves down in Montgomery. It's going to be very interesting.
All right, we'll be there. We'll talk about it next week right here on the No Huddle on Aspire TV. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stick around.
You're watching No Huddle on Aspire TV. For the latest news on Black college football and culture, go to HBCUGameDay.com. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Wally Pitt was in studio all weekend, and he was monitoring everything from the CIAA. Let's take a look back at last weekend.
This week's Run It Back recap is all about conference play in the CIAA, courtesy of our friends at Aspire TV and the CIAA Sports Network. Now, the cream was rising to the top as the big dogs in the conference showed why they are, in fact, the big dogs. Johnson C. Smith traveling north to take on Virginia State and showed early that the Golden Bulls got a little dog in them too. Leading rusher in the CI and quickly rising star Emmanuel Wilson takes the pitch for 6. Smith finds themselves up 9-0 in the first, but the Trojans showing their big dog pit bull status on the CIAA yard. They scored 31 straight points. Triple C, cool Cordero Cook hits Keir Townsend for a 37-yard strike that gets Mr. Townsend the big play champ. Later in the half, Cook going for self with a 4-yard touchdown run. The Trojans win at 31-15. VSU still a problem in the CIAA North, and they want their bone back from the dog, or should I say the Bulldogs that snatched it from them last year. Bowie State hosting St. Aug, and they ain't even have to do the Falcons like this. But they did. Jerome Johnson, 2 touchdown passes in the first, both for 16 yards, one to Victor Olayinka, another to Dushan David, and I said Jerome's in the house. Johnson with 2 touchdown runs in the second, this one for 19 yards. Rome adds the 36-yard score to Dante Wall in the third, and Bowie State tells St. Aug that they can't stomp with the big dogs. 54-6, Bowie rolls. The Kings of the CIAA South Fayetteville State in the Down East Classic against Elizabeth City, and the Broncos cleaned up the Vikings like a good old Down East fish plate. Stevie Green, Donshell Jetton, I'ma call him Catfish and Snapper, 29 carries, 226 yards, and 5 touchdowns between the two-headed monster in the Fayetteville State backfield. Quarterback Richard Latmer throws for 2 touchdowns, and the Broncos still got the Down East crown as they win big, 55-12. No stream available for the game of the day, but Winston-Salem State and Virginia Union did what they always do. Play a tough, hard-fought game that goes down to the wire. Union hits a 25-yard field goal with 21 seconds left to get the 16-15 win, and there's no rest for WSSU as they got Bowie State coming to Bowman Gray next week, right here on Aspire TV. Come for the No Huddle at 1:30 and stay to watch the Rams and Bulldogs go heads up at 2 p.m.
Well, coming up this afternoon, it might be a preview of the CIAA championship. Now listen very closely to the teams I'm about to talk about. Livingstone versus Virginia Union. That game today might be a preview of the championship game. Both teams unbeaten in conference play, and no one anywhere has Livingstone as the front runner. Raise your hand if you did. Now put your hands down. You're lying. No one did that. Stop it. All right, let's go back to the SIAC. Couple of games to watch today on the Division II side. Homecoming at Miles, and they have Clark Atlanta. The Bears have already boat raced Morehouse at home this year, and we mentioned that because we know Miles fans love to blow smoke in the direction of the AUC. Tuskegee and Albany State, they didn't do the Whitewater Classic this year, but it's still game on. Tuskegee visiting Albany State and in desperate need of a win. Kentucky State 2-0 against FCS opponents. We've talked about that already, but 0-1 in the SIAC. Remember a couple years ago, Tuskegee was really good, but they lost that one game to Kentucky State, and Tuskegee already beat Kentucky State this year. Could that happen again? They'll take on Morehouse today. Savannah State on the road, getting another taste of Division I life where they just came from, as the Tigers take on Charleston Southern, a team they did beat last year. But I can tell you this, Savannah State fans are not missing that D1 life at all. I talked to a group of Tiger faithful last weekend, and they are ecstatic about being back in Division II.
I don't want to get emotional. That's pretty awesome. It's been a downtrodden program for a lot of years. 20 years, people have been embarrassed to be Savannah State fans and hadn't had a lot to talk on the water cooler. Now these guys can stick their chest out a little bit, and we can bring some pride back, help save our school, our university, and put us back on the map. So a big win for us in Atlanta, and man, what a great crowd. Get that crowd, man. They're awesome.
I'm very glad that we stepped down SIAC, mainly because our guys can compete on the level that other schools are at the same level. Prior to that, we were getting, it wasn't a good look. But now we're doing this is one of our great outcomes from a game here locally in Atlanta.
I love it. I love it. We get to play some games with some teams we're comfortable with playing. I love it.
Is it easier as a fan to travel?
Oh, heck yes. It's easier to travel in the SIAC because we can go beat them Fort Valley Wildcats, them Golden Rams, beat them all because the mighty Savannah State Tigers.
All right, well, we're 2-0 on the road, so that's a big for us. And I tell you what, I'm ready for a cold Coca-Cola right now and sit down for a minute, but I'm proud of our guys. And, you know, you don't always have to play your best to win. You just got to find a way to be better than your opponent. And, man, they battled us, so I'm proud of our guys. We got to play a lot better on offense. We got to fix some things. But if you can win and fix things, it's a whole lot more fun than losing and having to fix things.
It was good, but Savannah State, they needed to get their coverage back.
They need to get their coverage back?
Yep.
What do you mean?
Because every single other time I went to their game, they were doing better defense than what they were doing today.
Okay, but a win is a win, right?
Yep.
When you go and you sit out a game and then you're able to leave knowing that your team has won, it motivates you and excites you to be there for those Tigers. Well, I'm excited about it, and I think a lot of our alumni are too, because now they're able to travel with the team and support the team because of the closer distances that we have now.
You look around the environment here, you see a lot of the orange and blue Savannah State representing what it feels like to be back in the SIAC. So we're thankful that we get to play Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, and those kind of schools, and we're back with the teams in the conference that we deserve and belong to be with. So this is a natural rival for us. So we're thankful. And like I said, you look around and you see nothing but blue and orange in the atmosphere. So Savannah State wins today, and we look for many more victories in the SIAC. So we're thankful that we're back in the SIAC.
So it doesn't bother you that, it's now Division II and not Division I?
Not at all, as long as we get them W's.
Seems like I've been a Savannah State College, now university, student alumni for so many years, working on 40 years. So we're back home with the SIAC where we belong. And you're gonna see that resurgence. As the brother just said, you look around, there's just as many people here from Savannah State, Savannah University alumni as you see as from Morehouse. So we're back.
Welcome back to the No Huddle here on Aspire TV. Always remember that we want to hear from you. You can leave us a voicemail on the HBCU hotline, and you might hear yourself somewhere inside the HBCU Game Day universe. Could be right here on the No Huddle. That number is 404-832-5052. If you don't hear yourself here, then you might pop up on the HBCU Game Day podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We talked a lot about FAMU on our last episode, and the Rattlers are still out here striking and striking and striking again. This homecoming weekend for FAMU. North Carolina Central in town. FAMU not eligible for the postseason this year, but they can still talk that talk if they keep winning. The Rattlers are 3-1 heading into today's game with the Eagles. Norfolk State hosting North Carolina A&T. The Spartans just barely lost last weekend, a couple of points to FAMU. A potential win over the Aggies would shake things up a little bit in the MEAC. We'll see how that pans out. Howard versus Harvard was a game we were all looking forward to, but man, things have changed for the Bison. HBCU Game Day and other media outlets reporting that Kalen Newton has decided to redshirt this season. Played 4 games, but we won't see him anymore. We didn't see him last weekend, and he may consider transferring out of DC. Coming up in just a few minutes, right here on Aspire TV, Bowie State makes the trip to Winston-Salem, North Carolina for a matchup with Winston-Salem State University. Bulldogs, they've been rolling in the post-Amir Hall era, while WSSU has been on the struggle plate a bit this season. Hopefully they won't go for second. It's a big win over Tuskegee, but some close and painful losses scattered throughout the rest of the season so far. That's coming up next right here on Aspire TV, so make sure you enjoy that CIAA action. For the entire crew, I'm Tali Carr. We'll see you guys soon. If it's your homecoming today, enjoy it and be safe, because we want to see you at next year's homecoming as well. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.